The first time Samantha touched me during a stretch, I felt something I'd never felt in 8 years of marriage. It was just her hand on my lower back, guiding my form during a hamstring stretch. But the electricity that shot through my body made me gasp. She pulled away immediately, asking if she'd hurt me, and I lied. Said I was fine, just tight muscles. But I wasn't fine. That simple, professional touch had awakened something in me I didn't even know existed, and it terrified me. If you've ever had your entire understanding of yourself shattered by a single person, stay with me. This is my story, and I need to tell it before I lose the courage. My name is Maya Rodriguez, and until 3 months ago, I had my life completely figured out. I'm 32, a senior partner at Morrison & Associates, one of Chicago's top corporate law firms. I married my college boyfriend Daniel 8 years ago in a wedding my mother still talks about as the pinnacle of elegance. We have a beautiful townhouse in Lincoln Park, 2 cars, a golden retriever named Justice, and a 5-year plan that includes moving to the suburbs and starting a family next year. On paper, my life was perfect. In reality, I was slowly suffocating under the weight of all that perfection, and I didn't even realize it until Samantha walked into my life. It started because of Daniel, ironically. He'd been after me for months to get in shape, making comments about my stress eating, my sedentary lifestyle, the way my suits were fitting tighter. He wasn't cruel about it, just concerned in that slightly condescending way that made me feel like a project he needed to manage. So when my firm's wellness program offered subsidized personal training, I signed up more to get Daniel off my back than out of any genuine desire to transform my body. The gym sent me Samantha's profile. 29 years old, certified in multiple training disciplines, specialized in working with busy professionals. Her photo showed a woman with short dark hair, athletic build, confident smile. I approved her without much thought and scheduled our first session for the following Monday at 6 a.m. at my home gym. I expected someone intense and intimidating. Instead, Sam showed up with an easy smile. A nice to meet you, Maya, that felt genuinely warm, and an energy that put me immediately at ease. She was attractive in a way I registered but didn't think much about. I'd always been able to appreciate when other women were beautiful without it meaning anything. This felt the same. Or so I told myself. Tell me about your goals, Sam said, as we sat in my home gym, a converted spare bedroom with a treadmill, weights, and yoga mats. Honestly, my husband thinks I need to lose weight. I'm just here to appease him and maybe feel a little less exhausted all the time. Sam's expression shifted slightly. Something I couldn't quite read. Okay, but what do you want? Not your husband. You. No one had asked me that in a very long time. I don't know. I used to run in college. I used to feel strong. I guess I'd like to feel that way again. Like my body is mine and it's capable of things. Then that's what we'll work toward. She smiled. Forget the scale. Forget whatever standards someone else has set. We're going to make you feel powerful again. Something in my chest loosened at those words. Those first few weeks were brutal physically but unexpectedly enjoyable. Sam pushed me hard but never made me feel inadequate. She celebrated every small victory, every extra rep, every moment I pushed through discomfort. More than that, she talked to me like a person, not a client. She asked about my work, my life, my interests beyond fitness. I learned she'd been a personal trainer for 6 years, that she'd played college soccer, that she loved old movies and had a rescue cat named Ripley after the Alien protagonist. She was funny and smart and easy to talk to. I started looking forward to our sessions not just for the endorphin rush but for the conversation, for the hour 3 times a week when someone actually listened to what I had to say. Daniel noticed the change in my mood before he noticed any physical changes. This trainer thing is really working for you, he said one evening as I came home energized instead of exhausted after a morning session. You seem happier. I was happier. And that should have been my first warning sign. 6 weeks into training, Sam and I had developed a comfortable friendship. She'd arrive, we'd chat while warming up, work through the session with easy banter, then cool down with more conversation. I learned she was single, had recently ended a long-term relationship, loved horror movies but hated jump scares. I told her about law school, About the pressure of being the first in my family to get a professional degree. About how sometimes I felt like I was living someone else's life. Do you ever feel like you're playing a role? I asked her during a water break, surprised by my own candor, like you re-performing the version of yourself that everyone expects instead of being who you actually are. Her? Sam looked at me with an intensity that made my breath catch. Every day until I was 23. Then I stopped, and it was terrifying and liberating all at once. What changed? I came out, told my family and friends I was gay. Lost some people. Kept the ones who mattered, and finally got to stop pretending. The words hung between us. I don't know why her disclosure made my heart race. I'd had gay friends before, worked with LGBTQ colleagues, considered myself a progressive ally. But hearing Sam say it, sitting there in my home gym with her, looking at me like she was sharing something important, felt different somehow. That must have taken incredible courage, I said finally. It took reaching a point where living honestly was less scary than living a lie. She held my gaze a moment longer than necessary, ready to get back to it. We didn't talk about it again, but something had shifted. I became hyper-aware of her presence in ways that confused me. The way she demonstrated exercises, her body moving with such confidence and grace. The way her hand would guide my form, fingers pressing against my core to engage my abs, adjusting my shoulders during presses. Every touch felt electric, and I told myself it was just because I wasn't used to physical contact outside of Daniel, that I was reading too much into professional instruction. But then I started noticing other things. How my heart would skip when I heard her knock on the door. How I'd catch myself watching her move during demonstrations, transfixed by the fluid strength of her body. How I'd find excuses to text her between sessions, sending her funny memes or asking questions I didn't really need answers to. How disappointed I felt on days we didn't train. Daniel commented that I seemed distracted. He wasn't wrong. I'd be in the middle of reviewing a contract and suddenly remember something Sam said that made me laugh, or the way she smiled at me when I finally nailed a move I'd been struggling with. I started dressing more carefully for our sessions, telling myself it was just about feeling confident while working out, but knowing deep down I was trying to look good for her. 2 months in, everything came to a head. We were doing a cool-down stretch after a particularly intense session. Sam was helping me with a seated forward fold, her hands on my back, gently encouraging me to deepen the stretch. I turned my head to ask her something, and suddenly our faces were inches apart. I could see the gold flecks in her brown eyes, feel her breath on my cheek, smell her subtle cologne mixed with clean sweat. Time seemed to stop. We stayed frozen like that for several heartbeats. Something unspoken crackling in the air between us. Then Sam pulled back quickly, clearing her throat, and said we should call it a day. After she left, I sat on the gym floor for 20 minutes, my hands shaking, my mind racing. What was that? What was I feeling? I was married. I was straight. I'd never been attracted to women. This was just some weird emotional transference because Sam was kind to me, because she made me feel seen in a way Daniel hadn't in years. It didn't mean anything. Except it did mean something, and I knew it. I just wasn't ready to admit what. The next session was awkward. We were both overly professional, avoiding eye contact, maintaining careful distance. The easy friendship we'd built felt strained, and I hated it. By the end of the workout, I couldn't stand it anymore. Sam, wait, can we talk for a minute? She paused at the door, tension visible in her shoulders. Sure. Did I do something wrong? Things feel weird between us, and I value our friendship. I don't want to lose that. Sam turned to face me, her expression carefully neutral. You didn't do anything wrong, Maya. I just think maybe I've been too familiar. You're my client, and I should maintain better professional boundaries. That's on me, not you. I don't want professional boundaries. The words came out before I could stop them. I mean, I value you as a trainer, but you've also become a friend. One of the only people I can actually talk to. Please don't pull away. Something flickered in her eyes. Maya, I need to be honest with you about something, and it might make things uncomfortable. My heart started pounding. Okay. I've developed feelings for you. Feelings that go beyond friendship or a professional relationship. I've tried to ignore them, tried to keep things appropriate, But that moment during our last session made me realize I can't keep pretending. She took a deep breath. I'm attracted to you. And I know that's completely inappropriate and you're married and probably straight. And I should just quit as your trainer to avoid making this worse. But I couldn't leave without being honest about why. The room seemed to tilt. She'd just said out loud the thing I'd been desperately avoiding acknowledging in myself. I started, then stopped, having no idea what to say. You don't have to say anything, Sam said quickly. I'll refer you to another trainer. Someone who can maintain proper boundaries. I'm sorry for putting you in this position. Don't go. My voice came out as barely a whisper. Please don't go. Maya. I need to tell you something and I don't even fully understand it myself yet. I was trembling. The last 2 months training with you have been the best part of my days. Not because of the fitness stuff, though that's been great. Because of you. Because you make me laugh and you listen to me and you make me feel alive in a way I haven't felt in years. And that moment during the stretch, I felt it too. Whatever was between us. I felt it. Sam's eyes widened. What are you saying? I'm saying I don't know what I'm saying. I'm saying I'm completely confused and terrified and I can't stop thinking about you and I don't understand what's happening to me. Tears were streaming down my face now. I'm married. I've been with Daniel since I was 20. I've never questioned my sexuality. I've never been attracted to women. But then you walked into my life and suddenly everything I thought I knew about myself was falling apart. Sam crossed the room and handed me a towel to wipe my face, careful not to touch me. Maya, I need you to really hear what I'm about to say. What you're feeling right now is probably incredibly overwhelming. You might be questioning things about yourself that you've never questioned before. But I can't be the person you experiment with to figure yourself out. That wouldn't be fair to either of us. I'm not trying to experiment with you. I'm trying to understand why I feel this way, why you're the first person in years who makes me feel actually seen and alive. Those feelings might have nothing to do with gender or sexuality. They might just be about feeling valued and appreciated. Things maybe you're not getting in your marriage. That doesn't necessarily mean you're attracted to women. It might just mean you're in an unfulfilling relationship. Is that what you think this is? Sam looked at me with such tenderness it made my chest ache. I think you need time and space to figure out what you're feeling without me in the picture confusing things. I think you need to talk to your husband, maybe see a therapist, explore what's missing in your life. And I think if I stay your trainer while you're doing that work, I'll just complicate everything. What if I don't want time and space? What if I want to figure this out with you? That's not fair to ask of me. Her voice was gentle but firm. Maya, I've been where you are. I've been the married person questioning everything, terrified and exhilarated all at once. I know how intense and confusing it is. But I've also been on the other side, the out lesbian who got involved with someone going through that process. It ended badly because she wasn't ready. Because the reality of being with a woman was too different from the fantasy. Because the cost of leaving her marriage was too high. I'm not asking you to be in a relationship with me. I'm just asking you not to disappear from my life completely. I can be your friend while you remarried and figuring out if you might be attracted to women, Maya. That's a boundary I need to have for my own emotional well-being. The finality in her voice broke something in me. So this is it? You just walk away? I think it's what's best for both of us. Sam moved toward the door, then paused and turned back. For what it's worth, these 2 months with you have been special to me too. You're an incredible person, Maya. I hope you find whatever it is you're looking for. I hope you give yourself permission to be honest about who you are and what you want, even if it's scary. And then she was gone. I spent the rest of the day in a daze. I couldn't focus on work, couldn't eat, couldn't think about anything except the conversation we'd had and the way it felt like my entire identity was crumbling. Daniel came home to find me sitting on the couch staring into space. Bad day at work? He asked, loosening his tie. Something like that. He kissed the top of my head absently and headed to the kitchen to make dinner, already scrolling through his phone. I watched him move through our home, this man I'd built a life with, and felt nothing but numbness. When had we stopped really seeing each other? When had we become two people coexisting rather than a partnership? That night in bed, Daniel reached for me the way he sometimes did, perfunctory and routine. I let him, going through the motions, but my mind was elsewhere. I was thinking about the way Sam had looked at me, the raw honesty in her voice, the electric feeling of her proximity. And I realized with startling clarity that I never felt with Daniel what I felt in those brief moments with Sam. Not even in the beginning, when we were young and supposedly in love. The thought terrified me. Over the next 2 weeks, I tried to go back to normal. I threw myself into work, spending even longer hours at the office. I was polite and pleasant with Daniel, maintaining the facade of our marriage. I didn't hire a new trainer. I could barely bring myself to enter the home gym, the space too full of memories of Sam. But I couldn't stop thinking about her. I'd see something funny and reach for my phone to text her before remembering I couldn't. I'd have a hard day and wish I could tell her about it. I'd wake up from dreams I couldn't quite remember, but that left me aching with longing. I did what Sam suggested and started seeing a therapist, a woman who specialized in sexuality and identity issues. In our third session, after I'd spent an hour talking in circles, she said something that cut through all my defenses. Maya, you re-spending a lot of energy trying to figure out if you re-attracted to women in general. But from what you've told me, that's not really the question, is it? The question is whether you're attracted to Samantha specifically. And I think you already know the answer to that. She was right. I was in love with Sam, or falling in love with her, or whatever the beginning of love felt like. And it didn't matter if I was gay or bi or just Sam-sexual. What mattered was that I couldn't stop thinking about her. Couldn't imagine my life without her in it, and couldn't keep living this lie of a marriage when every day I was thinking about someone else. The realization was both terrifying and liberating. On a Tuesday evening 3 weeks after our last session, I sat Daniel down in our living room and told him I wanted a divorce. I didn't tell him about Sam, didn't mention the attraction or confusion about my sexuality. I just told him the truth. That I'd been unhappy for years, that we'd grown into different people, that I needed to figure out who I was outside of this marriage. He was shocked, then angry, then coldly pragmatic. We divide assets, sell the house, go our separate ways. He said I was throwing away 8 years for some midlife crisis. Maybe I was. But I knew I couldn't move forward with any part of my life until I was honest about this fundamental truth. I wasn't happy, and I hadn't been for a very long time. After Daniel went to bed in the guest room, I sat in the dark living room with my phone in my hand, Sam's contact information on the screen. I typed and deleted a dozen messages before finally settling on something simple. I'm getting a divorce. Not because of you, but because you helped me realize I've been living someone else's life. I don't expect anything from you, and I understand if you don't want to hear from me. But I wanted you to know that you were right. It was time for me to be honest about who I am and what I want. Thank you for giving me the courage to do that. I hit send before I could second guess it, then set my phone down and waited. 5 minutes passed, then 10, then 20. Finally, my phone buzzed. I'm proud of you, Maya. That took real courage. I mean it when I said I think you're incredible. Take care of yourself. It wasn't a declaration of love or an invitation to reconnect. But it was something. It was Sam acknowledging what we'd shared, what she'd meant to my journey. And for now, that was enough. I was still terrified about what came next. The divorce would be messy. I'd have to come out to my family, my colleagues, everyone in my carefully constructed life. I'd have to figure out if what I felt for Sam was real or just the catalyst for a larger awakening. I'd have to rebuild my entire sense of self from the ground up. But I was also free. For the first time in years, maybe in my entire adult life, I was free to be honest about who I was and what I wanted. And it all started with a personal trainer who touched my back during a stretch and accidentally ignited a revolution in my soul. If you've ever had someone walk into your life and completely transform your understanding of yourself, I want to hear about it. Drop a comment below and tell me your story. Have you ever questioned your identity because of one person? How did you navigate that journey? And don't forget to subscribe and watch part 2 to find out what happened when I showed up at Sam's door 3 months later with a finalized divorce decree and a confession that changed everything. This story is just beginning.